thank you all. I told you it was a truly 50-good panel. Mitch and Phyllis, your names have been invoked as being helpful at the end of this process they described. Is there anything you'd like to add about the legislature's response to what our city was asking you to do?
Can you hear me from here? Can you hear me from here? Well, there was a window of opportunity there because at one time, if you remember, the state had a lot more money than it does now. This wouldn't happen now. But there was a time when we had more money than we actually needed, and it was either frivolous, spend it on frivolous things and fritter it away, or our legislators decided we would divide that money up and among the 100 representatives and 50 senators. They were to take that back to their communities, and they were to decide who was the most needy. And now the money that I had, I spent on some fire trucks, some for the smaller communities, and mine went to the Airport Expressway, the courthouse renovation, and mostly to the Headwaters Park. I think we had that for 3 budget sessions. So I think mine was a total of somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million where I spent and put into the Headwaters Park. I'm just astounded by what you did with it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Phyllis. Mitch, you were described as a point man on this. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
It was mentioned how long ago that was. On a related park issue, where we were trying to get some drafts back and forth between Indianapolis and Fort Wayne. Dan was, we were getting things back for Lockwood Marine and for Ian to review, and Dan said, well, we've got a facsimile machine at Lincoln Bank, and we can use a facsimile machine in the State House. We can get this draft up instantaneously. Instead of having to shuttle it the next day and lose it. Well, there was one facsimile machine in the State House. It was in the governor's office, and it was out in the public area on a little table. And we gathered down there, Dan standing there, and we got the draft from LSA, and we feed it into the facsimile machine, and it slowly, excruciatingly scanned each line. And I don't know how many pages we had, but it seemed like it took forever. That's how long ago it was. That one legislator who lived in Fort Wayne, it was me, and the house that I owned, the duplex on Tennessee Avenue, was blocked east of the Tennessee Avenue Bridge, and after the '82 flood, the Army Corps published their flood study. In the pictures that grace the front of that study, you can see the 4 houses into the Tennessee Avenue Bridge was my porch. And I can remember during the time of '82 getting back in after the area had been evacuated. Standing on my front porch, I'm over 6 foot tall. The porch is, I don't know, 4 feet off the ground. Being able to look directly over the Tennessee Avenue Bridge and see the glistening water above the sand. But that had a big effect on the General Assembly. We didn't have to dramatize or sell very much the idea of what it would mean to clear out this area. The National Guard Armory had this huge hole that would open up underneath it during the flood. And even our colleague Jerry Bales from Bloomington came up to volunteer to sandbag, and Jerry was down at the legislature to tell everyone else what Fort Wayne's needs were. It's been mentioned that Eric Kuhn is an interesting fellow. He was a friend of my brother's in high school, in the same high school class. So in high school, Eric was over at our house quite a bit, and I can tell you he was even interested in high school. That plan that was described had Tennessee Avenue hooking up with Lake Avenue and Spring Street, as well as sort of being much more expansive. But as Dan pointed out, Indianapolis legislators who controlled the Lieutenant Governor, the Finance Chair, the Budget Chair of the Senate, later on as the Speaker of the House, Paul Manwater succeeding Herman Burris, who passed away earlier this week. They had it all, and they wanted White River State Park. And as we found out later, when we said we want state park created for Fort Wayne, the same model, the DNR very firmly said that they added to us, Allen County delegation. We really didn't even see that as our mission in Indianapolis. We don't want to do anything more. And as Dan pointed out, the trouble was not only that we resented that they had this largesse for them, but the rest of the state did as well. And when Fort Wayne went forward, our other legislators for this we saw the need and getting the commission enabling legislation, and then aided by the Home Rule Study Commission, which produced a much freer way of creating interlocal governmental agreements. It got done, and you get to see them through that here today. It's been a wonderful achievement. I want to thank Mayor Moses and Ian and Dan for their leadership. I want to reiterate to them, you don't know how hard dogged Dan is